getting old, not good.
No. Every day I wake up thinking, man, I really need to take some time off. Because I am hurting like crazy.
Yeah. Important. Important to smell the roses.
Yep. I'll settle for looking at the roses at this point.
My dad always accused me of spending too much time grasshoppering. But I remember the times I grasshoppered a lot more than I remember the time sitting on the bench fixing things.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And think back to hours and days I've spent fixing things. And you don't remember them days, but you remember going to the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep. Yeah, same thing. I remember everything I did backpacking, but there are years, spans of years that I don't remember at all, when all it is the day-to-day grind. I've never had an 8-hour or a 40-hour week, ever, in my entire life.
part-time job?
Yeah, I've always worked 2 jobs, just like my dad did. And, you know, I'm on 6 years now running that store with 5 days off in 6 years.
And you wasn't off then,
No, I actually left.
because you was thinking about things
Yep.
related to your business even on vacation.
Oh yeah, I took 5 days
You
off.
know,
So,
self-employed, you never have time off.
yep,
At least I never did have time off.
yep. No, I took 4 of those days and did traveled around the Southwest doing a geological exploration and checking out different sites, because I knew I needed to get that done.
That's how these documentaries started.
That's how the documentary started. Yep. I had to go out and prove something before I could believe I wasn't going crazy.
Well, if you can prove something, you're 99.9% better than any of the scientists I read.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't prove anything.
Nope. Well,
You can present a hypothesis, a theory, and you can present evidence supports your theory or
Mhm.
hypotheses, but you can't prove that it happened that way.
yep. It's kind of like the Roman Stoics, who are the predecessors of lawyers. That entire line of philosophy started with being able to take something someone says, break it down into little parts in order to disprove one of those parts. And now you have reasonable doubt. That's our entire legal system's based on that.
Mhm.
It's not about truth, it's about who tells a better story.
You got that?
Yep. That's all it about. It's about.
Al Gore.
Huh?
Al Gore
Al Gore.
is an example. He's a great storyteller. Even people pay him for his stupid stories.
Uh-huh. Well, you know, that's what drives all that. It's the money. It's the books.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
So I've been trying to support an interesting thought I've had. They blame the Industrial Revolution
Mhm.
on climate change.
No.
But what if climate change brought on the Industrial Revolution? If you think about it, before the Industrial Revolution, the main thing the majority of the people had to do was to find enough food
Correct.
to make through.
Right.
The climate started changing to where you was producing more.
Mm-hmm.
the more you produced, the more free time you had to invent a better wheel
Correct.
or a better mousetrap,
Correct. Yep.
whatever you want to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out how do you present that idea logically.
Okay, the first thing that comes to my mind is when was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution? 1850s?
Well, the starting of the Industrial Revolution was anywhere from 1778 to
Mm-hmm.
1850s, or
Mm-hmm.
actually it was before 1850. We take the steamship, or even the steam engine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the steam engine was known about. You know, the very best type of thing at the Sistine Chapel ceiling.
Da Vinci? Mm-hmm.
Da Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
He displayed a steam engine,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but nobody did anything with it
right.
because the majority of the people were too busy trying to make it through the day,
Correct.
trying to find enough food and wood and coal to make it through.
Mm-hmm.
But when the climate started changing, then people had time to take that idea of Da Vinci's and make a workable steam engine.
Correct.
They took the workable steam engine and made a steamship.
Right.
They made sawmills, which gave them more time to think about better things,
Yep.
how to improve it.
So did the Industrial Revolution come out, so it didn't come out of a need for, it didn't come out because of necessity. It came out because people were adopting comfort.
Yes,
Okay,
I think that
Yep.
would be the right way to put it.
okay. So geologically and environmentally, what you're saying is that things got better.
Mhm,
And because things got better, people had more time to play with their toys.
mhm,
And they adopted this comfort lifestyle.
mhm.
Yeah, which makes sense. Environmentally, I think things got better right around, now I'm gonna put out 1859. So about the 1850s, and by that point, yes, people had inventions, but it didn't really take off. You know, people adopting the comforts lifestyle until the 1850s. And in 1859 is when something dramatically happened to the earth that made things better. Well, it made things better, but it's going to make them a whole lot worse pretty soon. And that was the Carrington event. Okay, so in the Carrington event, and this is just, I'm just trying to go along your line of thought here. I never thought of that. But during the Carrington event, that solar flare burnt up the telegraph wires and the operators and caught papers on their desk on fire because of that surge through the telegraph wires. But really, that was the only electronics that we had at the time. Had it happened today, everything would be wiped out electronically. But what it also did is that was the beginning of the magnetic excursion on the Earth. Does that make sense?
The beginning of what?
The magnetic excursion, North Pole moving. You're 400 to 700 years off either direction. Okay,
Or
or more. Okay, why? Because you weren't there, you didn't see it happen, and so you can't get that accurate of a range. You're just basing it on fudge factors and assumptions. So, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
we can see that in, current pandemic,
Haha.
Yeah,
you know? Look at the flood factors, they
yeah,
figure in. 2 people in Grand County committed suicide, shot each other, but they were COVID deaths,
yeah,
because they tested positive COVID 7 days before they committed suicide.
exactly. I think the difference,
Larimer County, there's, I don't remember the exact number, last I looked, it was like 102 or 101 deaths from COVID.
Mhm.
But if you look at it, the biggest percentage of them, all but about 8, were old people,
Mhm.
you know? 103, they died from COVID.
Died with
Mhm.
COVID, not of COVID. They died of old age.
Yeah.
Died of old age,
Yeah.
you know?
But when it comes down to the history books of what's happening right now, they put a fail-safe in there. They don't call it a COVID death, they call it a COVID-related death.
Died
Okay.
with COVID.
Yeah, maybe they had COVID, so now it's COVID-related. And I think the difference, Tom, between when we were young, as opposed to what's going on with the population now, is that right now, I mean, they're pretty, what's the word, open about it. You know, it's like, yeah, there's a deceit going on, but we're just gonna put it out there. Whereas before, they tried to protect it and put a wall up around it so you'd never discover it. Now they just say it. And because they said it, everyone accepts it as true.
Yeah, because some stranger on TV told me to.
Yeah, some expert,
Yeah.
you know, told me this is the way it is. But, you know, just going back to climate change as an example right now, and did I lose my thought? Yeah, I know, the magic of Tommy. I keep saying he's gonna edit this out, but he never does. It just shows how human we are.
Yes.
Oh God, I totally lost my thought. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me.
Anyway, you were talking about that guy that painted that ceiling. What's his name?
Da Vinci?
Yeah. You're like, hey, you want to do a painting on the ceiling? He's like, sure, but I'm gonna put a lot of penises in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Da Vinci was church funded on a lot of the stuff that he did. So he had to keep things secret.
And Belize.
Oh my God, I'm old.
Well, you know, he was funded for his
Yeah. So we just need a date on that.
Yeah, I looked it
Yeah.
up based off this I found, which is skeletons. They got covered in calcite.
Da Vinci was funded because his ability to create great art
Mm-hmm.
by the church.
Correct.
That funding gave him the time to develop his ideas,
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't, after he got done painting the ceiling, he had the money and the time to do it
Right.
and develop it. You can't date the calcium like that. How can you date that?
I don't know.
You know, because calcite forms very rapidly.
Yep. That's why it's softer.
Any,
Mm-hmm.
there's a term, something that is water deposit. What's the term for that?
I don't know.
Effluent or affluent?
Effluent?
Affluent?
Effluent is.
When something is water deposited, like calcite, is dissolved in water and then it recrystallizes, reforms
Okay.
rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
like gem silica, or even chalcedony can form in a very short period of time. It doesn't take millions of years for it to
No.
form, or hundreds of years. It can form, I wouldn't know an exact time, but I have found gem silica that was formed in air pipes in mines.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The silica with copper salts in it flowed down the water, the break in the airline, and
Mhm.
came out in another crack, and as it came out, the water evaporated and left the gem silica.
Okay, yep.
So the airline was put in the 1930s, maybe 1920s, and now it's hard gem silica. So it, you know that it didn't form over millions of years.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, just the same when we were in the mine in Arizona, the old ladders. It was a mine, probably 1920s. They're covered in crystals.
Yeah.
All the wood, everything is, because you have
Mhm.
calcium and high alkaline in the area. You can see it dripping, and yeah, it's just forming crystals. Like I have chunks of wood with crystals all over them.
Mhm.
So yeah, it didn't take millions of years. Like
I found hammer handles that had calcite crystals formed on them.
Mhm.
But wasn't millions of years.
oh,
Nope. So basically what happened is like sodium chloride, salt water.
hell,
Okay, if something was in the salt water, they took it out of the salt water, sodium chloride would crystallize almost instantly
Mhm.
as the water evaporated.
Mhm.
Just give you an example of something that happens super fast. That's what's happening
Yep,
with that.
that's
Okay.
halite. Same thing.
Sorry, I come from the chemical industry, so.
Right, right.
Uh,
That's what I usually tell people too when they have halite. I'm like, it's sodium chloride. I'm like, what is that?
table
I'm
salt.
like, yeah, you can use it on your steak, man. I was like, lick that rock, you'll see.
We had a place in Morton Salt owned it in the San Francisco Bay, and basically all it was big, miles and miles of trenches. And what they would do is they would open the gate and let all the ocean water come in, fill that up, close the gate, and wait for it to evaporate. And then they would take a tractor and they would just shovel up all this salt, clean it, and sell it to you. So, yeah, Morton Salt owned that.
Nice.
There was we lived in Costa Mesa, California for
Mm.
a few months, years ago. And a couple miles from the house, a place called the Back Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all flat pan that was below sea level.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd gone in and they'd hard surface the bottom of the areas and flood it and let it evaporate away, and then they would push it up and
Yeah.
collect it all. But that's been going on in the Dead Seas for how many
Thousands of years, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it goes on down South America and worldwide.
Yep. It's easy to see where the Romans got their currency. They used to pay their laborers in salt.
Mhm.
And that's where they,
Your salt.
yeah, that's where that expression came, you're worth your weight in salt.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really easy to see how they were able to do that. Yeah, as going back to climate change, one thing I try to make people clear is that there's a difference between supporting climate change and sanctioning pollution. I try to simplify it by telling people, it's insane to shit in your own backyard, but it's criminal to shit in someone else's backyard.
Mhm.
Same thing with pollution. I agree, stop polluting, okay? But it's not the same thing as climate change. Okay.
No.
Pollution is not climate change. Climate change is climate change. There's more than one contributing factor to it. And I really believe the human contribution is infinitesimal. It's practically non-existent. On the other hand, I'm not going to shit in your backyard.
Or if you're in India, we can
You
just
do,
shit
dig
into
a
your
hole and
water.
cover it up.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's, the heads of a lot of track, or trail heads, there's a sign, you know, pack, or pack up your shit and take it with you.
Yeah. Mhm.
But that's insane,
Yeah.
you know? You don't wanna leave it on top of the ground,
No.
but dig a little coyote hole and
Yep.
poop in it and cover it back up.
There you go.
I wish people would.
Yeah.
They go up there and they shit and they leave it on the ground. There was 2 people this year that had their dogs running around that rolled in human feces.
Mhm.
Dude, that's just insane. You know, just a lack of respect, really.
Yeah.
Until you're wiping paper laying around, your toilet paper laying on the ground. You know?
Yep.
Blowing all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just rude. Right.
Hey, there's a race of Sasquatch,
Yep. Yep.
you know.
Yeah, and that goes back, oh God, to,
I can prove it. Tommy's got pictures of Sasquatch writings on a tree.
I do.
do you?
Yeah.
How come you haven't shown me that? Is this in the same place we went to?
No, this is,
I know.
Do you know about our experience
Uh,
when we were up there? I went up there with Tommy where,
That Malachite mine.
and I'm sitting there, Tommy was out to the west doing something, I forgot what he was doing. And I yelled out, I said, hey, what are you doing? Because someone was throwing rocks, big rocks.
mhm.
And from the other direction. And no, actually it was to the south. And I said, hey, what are you doing? And he calls back to me, and he's way over there. And I said, what the fuck? So he comes over, and we both walk up there, only, 150 feet. And we go up there, and there's this bedded down area. And we look around, and I said, because it was kind of marshy, this bedded down area, and I said, well, there's no rocks here. I said, how the hell am I hearing rocks being thrown when there's no fucking rocks here? So, yeah, it was, and then we found a big old footprint, just the other side of a log.
You stepped in the marsh and left a footprint and you got video of it.
Yeah. And you could see where whatever it was went off through this marshy area, out through the trees. But again, we weren't seeing any rocks. And I'm just wondering, how the hell am I hearing rocks being thrown in this marshy area when there's no rocks here? So, yeah, that was,
We walked around back. Remember, we found a pile
uh-huh.
of rocks,
Yeah.
throwing rocks. And you don't hear, I don't know if you heard
I didn't hear any whistling, yeah.
my buddy Ryan was up there, he was scared.
Uh,
Because like he was, same thing, he had some rocks thrown at him. And that little whistle followed us out.
Yeah, and I'm the kind of guy where, I hear the stories and everything, and I kind of put it in the back of my head, until I actually have some experience with it. And that was the first experience I ever had with that. And I've been backpacking all over this country, and I'd go out for months at a time. No experience whatsoever in that. And then this happened. It's like, yep,
It's happened a bunch up there.
yep.
maybe that's why the Forest Service don't want us in there.
Well, that's what I was
yeah.
getting to when I heard the FBI showed up,
Yeah.
is because it seems that that's when they show up, is when there's suspicion of bad activity. And I've always wondered about that. Why the hell would they get involved if, you know, unless there's something bigger?
Well, Forest Service land is federal land,
Mm-hmm.
and the FBI does have jurisdiction on all federal land,
Right.
but with so much else going on, why are they wasting
Yeah.
an effort
Yeah, it's weird.
on keeping people out the forest land?
Right. Seems a little over the top.
Yeah, Kevin, are you proud of yourself? Remember he's talking to that agent?
Oh, yeah. He has it on video, that their confrontation with the forest people. Was it the FBI?
Yeah,
With the FBI.
Agent Joseph.
Oh.
Well, that puts us off into another realm. The FBI is an unconstitutional federal agency.
Another one.
All federal agencies are unconstitutional.
Yep.
There's one of them, with the exception of the postal service. But all the other federal agencies are unconstitutional. And you can't show me one place in the Constitution where it designates it.
Mm-hmm.
Having a standing army is unconstitutional.
Right. That I knew.
We
Yeah.
shouldn't have a military force
Right.
to support.
I thought it was funny when Swayze, that agent was there, he rolled down the window. He didn't know he was back there because the windows were all black. He like
Mhm.
grabs his gun
Yeah.
and he rolls it down and started reading him the Constitution. How everything he was doing is unconstitutional. It was awesome. And the agent's like, well, that's your opinion. That's your view on it. And he's like, no, this is right here in the Constitution. You can't keep us out. It was pretty awesome that day.
Yeah.
Didn't get any of that on film though, dang it. He was supposed to be filming back there. He got all nervous.
Oh, I'm reading this book. Actually, I'm listening to the book. I got it on book on tape called Raven Rock.
Raven Rock,
Raven Rock, and it's about
like the bird raven, or like raving.
like the bird. Yeah, Raven Rock is a an underground bunker, one of many underground bunkers. And what it is, it's the history of how this was all put into place from the 1940s on to build all these underground bunkers under the guise of continuity of government, you know, keeping the government alive in the case of an apocryphal nuclear exchange, and how it changed all the laws and set up the CIA and set up, you know, the chain of command and all of that. And it's pretty interesting. They got a TV series. It's a 6-part TV series called While the Rest of Us Die, and it's all about how they planned on the government surviving while everyone else dies. And as long as, you know, the government's surviving, they anticipate that they're going to be able to keep, you know, the United States government. But it all comes back to the age-old saying, in my mind, that a king with no subjects is no king. Right? What are you a king of?
Who's gonna empty the toilets?
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the problems that they had along the way. So, and it just floors me. I mean, like, all the people, the chain of command is who they plan on keeping in those governments to start with. Then they realized, oh, well, we have this huge communications network, So they started bringing in AT&T specifically. Their CEOs and their workmen in another bunker to keep the communications going. And what they didn't include was all those guys, their families, their wives and their kids. They're not included. So again, now logistically, I see a problem there. You know, where, yeah, you're gonna have all these guys in bunkers, but how are you gonna repopulate the damn country?
Hell if you ain't.
Don't work.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense, you know, their logic behind it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Logic.
Yep.
Right.
Oh.
there's so many problems in the world to solve.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many gallons of whiskey I drank sitting around talking with cohorts about solving the world's problems.
Yep.
Sounds familiar.
And the sad part of it is that it's only gotten worse.
Yep. And blatantly worse.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're out in the open now. They're no longer trying to hide it.
Why? Who's gonna stop them?
Exactly.
Hold on a second. We'll investigate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Constitutionally, the federal government does not own any land other than what's specified in the Constitution, which is like 10 square miles and armories and certain things.
You're saying right now is a big land grab. They're already doing it.
Oh
They did
yeah.
that in Australia too with the fires.
Yeah. I saw that.
The pathetic thing about it is that our forefathers allowed the federal government to disperse public lands, homesteads,
Mm-hmm.
give it to the railroads to fund transcontinental railroads and other railroads,
Mm-hmm.
which I assume probably was the right way of doing what they did.
Mm-hmm.
But then in 1960s, late 1960s, they started saying that the government owned the land instead of it being public domain.
Correct.
It's federal land,
Mm-hmm.
and we own it.
Correct.